I am not a professional in science, obviously. I am a student, a high school student who is interested in science, not even touching the most basic contents of science. But however, I am also a hobbyist. A hobbyist does not have barriers at the entrance. Just watch few hackerspace articles and you can get along easily. Now, where's the gap between being a hobbyist and being a professional taking a career in electronics design? Well, let me list 3 projects. First is an automated RFID door. The second one is a blinking Christmas light. And the third one is micro-ring radar. Well, merely sorting by difficulty, the blinking Christmas light seems like a DIY project. Then the automated RFID door sounds a little bit difficult, but still doable. And the ranging radar one does not sound like a DIY project. Well, today I would like to share you about an interesting experience in making the ranging radar in a robust but working way. Now, in order to talk about radars, let me first talk about some background technology. Radars are originally military devices shown on that picture. Well, in fact, in World War II, the British invented the radar. Radars work by transmitting a pulse of electromagnetic waves into the air. When it hits a target reflects the signal. Some signal is scattered in the other direction, but still there will be some signals reflecting back in the original direction because electromagnetic waves travel in the speed of light. Knowing the time delay will cause the distance to be known. In World War II, common German radar units range from 80 to 400 megahertz, the frequency, until the British invented the magnetron, which changed the game completely. Nowadays, radar functions from tens of megahertz until hundreds of terahertz, depending on your application. The radar on the right is a disassembly of a household light radar used in the toilets. Compared to the post-Doppler model on the left, continuous wave radar is more common in household units. It works by utilizing the Doppler effect. When a moving target will cause a shift in frequency. With no moving target, in this case human, present in the room, there will be no frequency difference, and the microcontroller can know whether there is a frequency difference. When the target, the human, is moving into the room, the light lights up because it sends a signal. Now, what is the difference between these 2 radars and the radar I made? Because the left one obviously looks like a big military device that could be handmade, and the one on the right cannot be ranging, as I said in the title. Well, the radar that I created is an FMCW radar. Now, this is the principle of how an FMCW radar functions. Compared to the unit where it sends a pulse signal, the FMCW radar transmits a continuously changing frequency. Well, in this case, the pattern is sawtooth. It's rising linearly at the rising edge and falls sharply at the falling edge. On this diagram, the x-axis is the time and the y-axis is the frequency. On the diagram on the top, the black line represents the transmitted wave, and the green one is the reflected wave. By showing the post-Doppler model, there's just a time delay between these 2. And very interestingly, the difference in frequency is the distance information. Compared to the post-Doppler models, this radar can have a very small, high-ranging resolution and is able to be produced with a small power. Now, this is the radar I made. Now, you may ask, what is the difference between this handmade radar and those professional radars using in bathroom lights and the military units? Well, I would like to say, actually, all 3 are pretty similar. They resemble similar components. For example, the black square on the top left, labeled 2, is a phase lock loop, a very important signal commonly used in radio communications. While the golden connectors, it looks like the type of connector used on the routers in Wi-Fi applications. Actually, they are the exactly same thing. It's called the SMA connector, a standard initiated by the IEEE. Well, me, as a hobbyist, can utilize these things and make a radar, while the professional companies could make other things out of it in a more professional way. Now, I think the main difference between a professional design one and the one that hobbyists like me make is the reliability. Because making it to function is already difficult enough. Considering about reliability is an even more difficult thing. Now you may ask, what is the impact or purpose of making such things? I mean, for sure, DIY will be fun for myself, but it's just an interesting experience. How does it help others? Well, I would like to share with you another experience. In one sunny afternoon in the summer, a youth blasted the local DIY community. It's called the Detector iron powder, which is a so-called health product advertised to cure a lot of respiratory system related disease. Well, a lot of such frauds exist on the market, but this one is particularly harmful. The so-called negative ion powder is actually hydrated sodium nitrate, a radioactive material. If this thing is applied into households, a lot of people unaware of the hazard will be breathing in radioactive material like this and inhale the alpha and gamma radiations. Well, implying from the name, it does shoot out some ions. Geiger counters, something to detect radiation, has gained their fame in the television series such as Chernobyl or in video games such as Fallout. However, Geiger counters has a severe limitation. First, it is not sensitive enough to detect radiation slightly above the background cosmetic radiation level. The second, it cannot differentiate what element is emitting the gamma rays, or in nerdy terms, no spectroscope ability. You can buy Geigers online fairly cheap, but that does not satisfy the demand to detect such things. That's why I also made this DIY scintillating gamma detector, which utilizes the principle of scintillation to detect the radiations. Well, in another sunny afternoon in the same summer, I gathered along with one of my classmates and went into a local construction store with this. I checked all the construction materials inside the store. Luckily, there was no result, meaning no negative ion powder is being added to this thing, which is a good news. Now you may continue to ask, what is the purpose in making this gamma detector? There must be some sort of professional equipment out there. Well, professional equipment have the prefix professional in it, which means expensive. Expensive means less common. Yes, the local governors can purchase some professional equipment to sense such issue, but it's not widespread enough for hobbyists like me to check the local construction store with such hazards. That's it for this. Thank you.